everyone thinks stock is just inventory, like inventory numbers. We see it reflected in Shopify as just inventory numbers, but it's actually cash in your business. Like,
You can do everything right in your e-commerce business. You can nail your marketing, have pretty product images and videos, you can build a great database, you can have a great website. But if your inventory isn't right and your warehouse isn't humming, it all goes down the toilet. You start flushing money away. That's why people like Jordan are some of the most important people in the Shopify ecosystem. He's built a company called Pimsicle, and they have a mission to optimise your operations and streamline your business backend. In this episode, we talk stocktake, omnichannel, POS, warehouses, all of that stuff that's just so important for e-commerce businesses and just retailers in general. If that stuff bores you, tune out now. But I think this is one of the most interesting conversations we've had, and Jordan is so generous with sharing his time, not just with us, but with the community in general. So thanks as always to the support heroes for sponsoring this episode and for supporting over 100 apps around the world by managing their customer support. Let's go. Now, look, I'm just going to jump straight into it. You obviously build back a house software. That was the best way I could describe what you do. But yeah, tell me, I'd love to just start off understanding, how you identify what you need to build for merchants.
yeah, so I have always been a behind the scenes guy. I used to be a data analyst and a data engineer, and then eventually got into software engineering, doing work behind the scenes, integrating systems. Um, how do I find what to build? Is just speak to merchants. I think it's very easy to find the like, oh, my website's not converting well. I need to add more people to my email list. But actually, if you speak to merchants and be like, well, what's tripping you over the most? It's often not that. It's often I'm growing my business. I need to scale my operations. Like me packing orders in my store isn't working anymore. I need a warehouse, or I need a delivery partner. And those things are the things that actually trip people up, and getting all those systems to speak together. I think, as we've all experienced in like day-to-day life, is what trips people over. Is my WhatsApp message doesn't work properly with my iMessage and etc. And you can see these systems kind of clash all over the place. So if I can make that smoother for merchants as they grow and scale, then I think that's why I kind of focus behind the scenes, really.
Yeah, for sure. And so like they're all very valid problems you put forward there, but I can imagine it's pretty hard to prioritize them all because they're all, it's hard. I can imagine it's harder to find the ones that rise to the top.
Yeah, finding ones that work together and like there's commonality between them is quite tricky. Like everyone, like for example, my main app is stock taking, so everyone likes to start taking slightly different ways, but there is some like commonality to everything. You know, everyone needs a scanner. Everyone needs like multiple people scanning in at the same time. So there are some common threads, but you just need to make it configurable so people can still run it their way, because ultimately it's their business and they want to run it the way they find best and suits them. And so I try not to be too prescriptive in like, this is how you should do things, and try and let them work their way they want, without making it too flexible. It's overcomplicated.
What's a success story for people who roll out your stock take app then? Like what leads to a 5-star review, or even better, just like a really great story of someone using it?
So for me, it's about them saving time and having accurate stock. So like everyone thinks stock is just inventory, like inventory numbers. We see it reflected in Shopify as just inventory numbers, but it's actually cash in your business. Like it's probably outside, staffing cost is probably one of the highest costs in your business, is the inventory sat in your store, in your warehouse, etc. So making sure that people have accurate inventory is super important to their business and super important to their cash flow. So a success story is like people sign up, they run a successful stock take, they get everything scanned in, their inventory is accurate, and it's also saved them time, so they're not spending loads of time. I had a merchant who left me a review who actually say it saves them like over 3 hours because they didn't have to compare all the inventory manually. The scanning was quicker than their previous system they were using. So that's the aim, is to save time and ultimately money. And
Yeah, absolutely.
keep it smooth and simple.
And it's less things you need to sell if you're not paying people to do that work, isn't it? So it's pretty straightforward there. And yeah, it's no, look, and you've obviously solved a lot of pain points across the stock take part of the platform, because Shopify's generally not had a huge amount of that in there, but they have had and it was a very timely conversation today. I think because Shopify are obviously sunsetting the Stocky app,
Mhm.
which I know a lot of retailers have had a love-hate relationship with it, I guess. Like, people will start off thinking, wow, this is really good. And then, yeah, they find it hits some limitations pretty quickly. So most people have, I know, have sort of moved on from it at some point anyway. But yeah, you're obviously, looking to help a lot of people who are migrating off Stocky. Is that right?
Yeah, so we over the last couple of months, last 6 months or so, tried to start building out other different features. So we started with stock taking. That's kind of the origin story of that app. But now it does transfers. We've just done purchase orders in the last couple of months, and adding some of those features that Stocky was really useful for, without going too far, because inventory is such an interesting topic. It ranges from like Stocky, right, and being free, all the way through to apps like mine, all the way through up to like bigger players like Inventory Planner, which just got bought by Sage a couple of years ago, NetSuite, and these large ERP systems. So it's super interesting a sector because it ranges, and you've got so many different solutions for it. So we're trying to find position the app as a good place for managing your inventory while still maintaining everything as Shopify, because I believe the closer you are to the Shopify's platform, the better it is for merchants and the better it is for integrations and those kind of experiences. So the best experience I can do inside the Shopify platform and using their tools, such as point of sale and extensions and things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. Well, especially for people using like Shopify POS as well, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
if you're using a different POS system, then instantly you've got two potential layers for the inventory to be different in different places. So yeah, if you can be managing it all within Shopify plus using Shopify and Shopify POS, that's almost the best combination of success that people can set themselves up for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And Shopify POS has also come a long way. A couple of years ago, it was okay, but Shopify POS is really good now. The team have done an awful lot of work to make it really performant, to add features to it, so it's much more capable now as a point of sale system. And it kind of just makes sense if you're doing online sales and you want to do point of sale, whether events and extensions, you can expand into point of sale quite nicely. Because keeping multiple systems in sync. I have another app which is a warehouse integration. So keeping systems in sync is something I know a lot about, and doing that across multiple point of sale and online channels all at the same time is often really complex for merchants.
Yeah, that's it. And I can imagine like you're not in a you're not dealing with a product that's sort of set and forget, because the APIs, particularly around things like POS and inventory management and all those areas, they are quite often changing, and as features like B2B and markets and stuff like that builds out. Like, how do you keep across all of that and keep up with keep your site not just keeping up with what it needs to meet API versions and stuff like that, but also, beyond that, how do you make it so that you're being the first to use new features and new APIs and stuff?
Yeah, so this is really timely because I literally did an upgrade last night.
Yeah.
So this is very timely.
Yeah.
I try and keep one quarter around, Shopify does a release every quarter. So we're now done, the April one's just come out. I try and keep one behind because then I find it's in a stable place, because I've done it before where I've left it a little bit of time and it's gone like, oh, and I'm now a year out of date, for example. And that upgrade can be quite painful because Shopify release changes all the time, which is great because the platform's always changing and evolving and getting better. But it also means you've got a lot to keep up with. And if you've left it a year, there's an awful lot of changes to get through, to get you back up to speed. So I try and keep constantly around a quarter behind, or sometimes more up to date, depending if there's a feature that's released. So when inventory transfers came out last summer, when they moved inventory transfers from Stocky over to Shopify admin and released the APIs for that, I upgraded immediately so I could get access to that and get transfers and that integration out to my merchants as soon as possible. But yeah, it is a constant battle. Just try and do your best to keep up with everything. I spend not as much time as I used to, but a lot of time in the forums when I can between doing other work. And they're also a great place to learn and keep up to date with everything, because the changelog is posted in there now, and people are always talking in there about what's going on and what problems they're having, but also what cool things have come out and what they're using.
Yeah.
So it's really a nice place to do it as well.
Let's face it, you didn't start an e-commerce app to spend 4 hours a day answering support tickets. That's where the support heroes come in. They provide dedicated, highly trained agents who actually understand the Shopify ecosystem and, most importantly, your business. They plug right into your help desk, they learn your brand voice, and they turn your users into advocates and 5-star reviews. Stop acting as your own customer service rep and get your time back. Head over to thesupportheroes.com today. I don't want this to come across as a mean question, but like I can imagine there's sort of a bit of a cult community of people that you would deal with. Who build these tools that are obviously so valuable and so important. So I can imagine it's quite a community of people who build this stuff who you'd work with.
Yeah, so the point of sale Shopify team are amazing. They're really great to work with. Like they'll chat to you about anything because the point of sale apps are compared to online a lot smaller. There's a lot smaller market to this. I know you had Josh on, who does countertop dev, and he's in a similar boat. So we talk about a lot because the point of sale merchants do have different needs to online merchants, and the apps that support them need to be different because we need to work on point of sale. We need to do different things. We need to load quickly because you're in a retail environment, so you can't be standing around for ages, waiting for someone to finish at the till. So it is a smaller community of point of sale apps and developers, which is really nice actually, because everyone you get to know lots of people a lot more than you do with like online store, which is really nice. Yeah, and we're also quite supportive as well, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. And there's just so much room for growth there too, isn't it? Like that's nice when it's it's still a very emerging product, isn't it? The Shopify POS. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also such a different experience to online. Like building out for retail and retail environments can become much more complex. But also like the retail teams are great because they will get on with anything because they need to make the retail store work no matter what the technology is doing. But it also means that you might not hear back for problems. If there's problems, they'll work around it in some manner.
Yeah.
Because they're there to serve the customer in the retail store. So it's great working with them because they will always tell you what they need and what's wrong. But they'll also find any workarounds they need to. So you might not hear it straight away about what's not quite working how they would expect and what you could improve. So it's a double-edged sword, but it is a completely different experience to in those kind of online integrations.
Oh, that's it. Well, your stakeholders, not just the e-commerce team. Like even in big businesses, generally the e-commerce team's fairly small, and you get to know all the key people in there. But when you've got a network of retailers, it's literally the users are every single person who's operating a till across the whole business. So I can,
and especially stock taking. I speak to the founders of businesses because it's their retail store, right? And it's their baby, which I can, as a founder myself, I can completely empathize with. I speak to heads of retail who are running multiple retail stores. I speak to the store managers, and I end up speaking all the way down to the actual team members who are scanning in. So I speak to the whole range, not just like the one team that managing it, but the whole range from founder all the way to the team that are actually running around the store scanning everything. Which is great, and also it's super important as well because the scanners are often the people who have the best feedback because they're the ones doing it day to day. But the founders want to make sure that everything's going to run the way that they want it to because, again, the inventory is their money and their business and it's their baby. So it's really nice to speak to a whole range of people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like your stocktake product, it sort of is fairly self-explanatory for the most part what it does. I know you've got your staff discount app as well, but Retail OS, that's a bit of a bigger beast. Can you sort of talk us through that and the background behind it and what that does? Yeah, for people who don't understand it so well.
Yeah, so as you can tell, I'm not good with the naming, so all my apps are named very sensibly about what they do and try and fall into the niche. And Retail OS is there for larger merchants to help fill some of the gaps that Shopify Point of Sale provides. So if you can imagine you go into a retail store, especially a lot of the more modern, newer retail stores, right? They don't always stock all of their products on the shop floor. They'll tend to stock a few sizes or maybe only a few items so that the store looks really nice and is a really nice experience for customers. But you often then need to go get sizes from the back of house. You need to replan the shop floor so it doesn't look empty. You need to manage changing rooms and VIP experiences when people are asking for different items and things. So Retail OS is there at the moment. That's its main feature. So if you want to go into a store and there's a medium on the shelf and you want a small or a large, you can speak to the team member. They'll be able to use Retail OS to very quickly on point of sale check for that product in that size, see whether it's available in the back of house, whether it's available online, send that through to the back of house, and that team will then be able to pick and deliver it to the front of house. And all of those steps are timed as well. So you get a much greater experience in store. So the customer knows that they're getting the right product that they asked for and that they requested. You, as a store manager, can track how many requests and what products are going through, and you can see also what's unavailable. So you know if someone has asked for something you don't have it in store and they need to go buy it online, you'll also see those kind of that kind of information as well. And also be able to track all of the performance as well. So you'll be able to see how long it's taking for your staff to pick the items, how long the customer's waiting. And so it kind of gives you a much deeper insight into how that retail store is running, because a retail store is a lot more than just orders per month compared to online. There's a lot more things that weigh into that retail store experience, and that's kind of part of it, starting to monitor out. And then we're going to expand it into improving the click and collect process, so helping smooth out some of those areas as well, that as you scale start to become a bit clunky, and task management as well, because retailers are often giving their staff lots of tasks to do and be able to track who's done it and when they've done it, and making sure that those things get done in a busy, chaotic retail environment where you've got customers asking questions. You could be doing one thing and the customer's just like, oh, could you help me with this? And making sure you can keep track of all those things is really important.
Yeah, I actually just had a thought. Like, I'd love to see like a core web vitals for a retail operation. Like, we use those to like decide like is your website performant, and like working through making sure that you're ticking all the boxes of speed and efficiency, and throwing in things like conversion rate and stuff as well. But like, it's actually, there's almost a similar version of that, isn't there, for like how quickly the person in the warehouse gets the box of shoes out to the sales staff and that sort of thing, isn't there? Like, there's a huge room for optimizing that and reporting on it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, there's awful lot of systems that people are using to get around it, right? I mean, we'll all have been in a store where they'll have walkie-talkie to someone in the back, but then you're trying to describe something or reading off like a SKU or a barcode to someone in the back, and then they've got to go remember what it was and then go find it, and that can lead to mistakes. Or I've seen merchants using WhatsApp or Slack or those other like messaging tools to do it, and they're sending pictures of the product on the front on the shop floor, and the person in the back has to go find it because the version that they've got is actually like bagged up, rather than hung out. That can just lead to like customers getting the wrong item, the wrong size, and then the customer's annoyed, and then you've got to go back, and it's more work for all of the team. So kind of finding those efficiency points, especially in the larger retail store, right? One of the merchants that I work with has it's like 3 stories. So if you got to run up and down 3 stories of stairs to get that product to the customer, you don't want to be going up and down twice.
Yeah.
You want to do that, run up and down the stairs once to get that product to the customer, and make sure it's the right product that they asked for.
Yeah. So maybe add to the analytics as well, some like stairs climbed as stats as well. Do a Garmin integration as well, and you've got the full suite there in Retail OS.
Oh, I think that steps on the shop floor is a great thing for your health.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get plenty in.
And so I don't just throw in an AI question for the sake of it, but you've also sort of got me thinking like, like this type of stuff too, like it's not just about reporting and knowing how things are working in the back of house in retail, but forecasting. That's obviously the even better if you can have the product already out on the floor before the customer comes in. And so how do you see things evolving in terms of that ability to provide that forecasting and make that experience more seamless as we start to have so many new different tools available for building that type of stuff?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be a really interesting area, and I think you see it a lot. I've got Retail OS has its own performance dashboard of how your retail store is performing. I know Josh at Countertop has a similar one. There's a couple of others that I saw all launch around the same time, which is very interesting because we're all seeing it go in the same area. But I think the one thing that gets you with the forecasting and that kind of reporting is the complexity involved, because there's an awful lot of metrics that go into there, right? You got customer happiness, which is really hard to measure because, are you checking just reviews then? Are you asking customers to leave feedback on the way out? Like, how does that work? It's not as easy as a follow-up email on an online order. And also, it's a lot more of a complex experience, right? There's a lot more touch points in a retail store than there is just, was the website and order experience good? There's also this, obviously staff happiness and staff morale. Are they happy doing what they're doing? Are they feeling fulfilled? How is the retail store performing financially? There's obviously a lot of money that goes into the retail store, inventory, staff costs, the actual building itself. Orders is obviously just the number of orders is really important. Staffing levels as well is critical. So there's an awful lot more metrics to get right with retail, and a lot to factor into. So I think what you're going to see is a lot more integrations between different apps and different providers, because there's a lot of different ways to measure all those things. I know some people are using different devices to track the number of customers in store, Bluetooth beacons and things like that to track the number of customers in store, which really helps kind of add footfall into there. And then you can figure out a conversion rate almost for your retail store, which is actually way harder than it sounds. So I think you're going to see a lot of integrations to try and provide those stats, because there's a lot more things to measure and a lot more different touch points as well.
Yeah, for sure. And like it gets pretty messy there, like with the number of the number of potential things you're integrating with. Like, do you reckon Flow's up to the job there? I know you're pretty big on Flow, as am I.
Yeah, Flow is really great for helping automate tools and tasks. I don't know. I'm really hoping they allow Shopify Analytics to become extendable. Shopify Analytics has also come a long way in the last 18 months or so. It's become really powerful, and you can do some really great queries and dashboarding in there now. I'm really hoping that they make it extendable so we can add our own metrics or enhance the metrics with extra data, because I think that would be an incredibly powerful touch point to be able to combine all these different sources together. We're looking at integrations ourselves, obviously with different partners, but I think Shopify expanding analytics to be integratable, I don't know if that's the right word, would be really powerful to kind of start to combine all these different metrics that you're getting from all these different apps and services.
Yeah, integratable is a fine word. I think I'm happy to I might use that a bit more actually, but yeah, and extensible as well, I guess, is the other one too, isn't it? Like it'd be interesting to see like how how that becomes usable too, like with using meta fields and stuff like that. Like, to me, if you can get data into meta fields as well, and then Shopify Analytics, I think, starting to work a bit better with meta fields and being able to report on those other things as well. So if you can be getting data in to your orders from what time the customer walked into store from your eye tracking device or whatever it is, and have that in there, like there's some pretty amazing stuff you'll be able to pull out, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And then also it means that everything can talk together without having to use a specific set of partners, like you can then be a bit more flexible in the tooling you're using, because the same with the inventory space. The retail space stretches from lots of single store merchants on the high street, which is great for local business, all the way through up to the much larger merchants we're seeing Shopify on board now. The more enterprise customers who are running Shopify point of sale at 20 plus different physical locations, which you would never have seen, or would have been very rare, should I say, a couple of years ago. You're now seeing them on board much more regularly, month after month. And so again, they're going to have a different set of tools that work for each of those sizes of business.
No, absolutely. And yeah, look, I think it's interesting too, because you want to, as those bigger ones come on, I think they can really benefit from using apps like your apps that live within the platform versus going straight to a Salesforce or SAP or one of those enterprise suites and trying to make all of that work 100%. And I've seen people as well move where they've gone down that path and then they've realized 6, 12, 18 months later, geez, we should have just used an app that lives in Shopify and done that. So Like it's great that you've got a tool that has achieved that level of scale within the Shopify platform that some of those players can come and join it. So it must be an exciting time for you, and yeah, it's exciting for retailers that they can tap into, whether it's stocktake or or that full retail OS
Mhm.
experience, and avoid having to have the big dinosaur, the big dino, not just the big dinosaur ERP, but also the big middleware that often has to come in between those. So it must be an
Yeah,
exciting time for you.
yeah, it is. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it is, definitely is. And I think that's as you see the Shopify platform grow and expand into these different areas, you're seeing it move quite rapidly compared to these other older providers. The example would give is I once had an issue with a NetSuite API when I was doing integration with it, and it took them 18 months to fix it. And it was one
Mm.
field that was missing from the API that should have been there. Like it was in their documentation, it said it should be there, and it took them 18 months to fix. Um,
Yeah,
Compared to Shopify, which would fix that much more rapidly. Um, so it's a very exciting time for that. And I'd also emphasize that again, there are lots of different tools to reach for, but I would always start inside the Shopify platform because um, I've seen merchants who are on the front of store. They had a Shopify point of sale, people running around with iPhones and POS Go devices when they were supported, and then they drop those off as soon as they went into the back of house, pick up a different handheld, and then that would be running a warehouse software, right?
yeah,
Which is a lot different experience to the tile-based interface for Shopify Point of Sale, and is a much different kind of system to get your head around. Or they'd have to work on a laptop in the back of house, and that's just a very confusing experience for the staff member. Never mind the fact you've got to have all the integrations that support the stock syncing between those two systems. You need that to be quick and all,
yeah,
real time if you can provide it. And so it ends up being a clunky experience both for your staff members and for the customers. So I'd always try and start inside the Shopify platform because with apps and things because it has come a long way. And you can get really far now with it. So that's one of the things I have Shopify Flow integration for is people still have ERPs. They're still useful tools,
yeah,
so you can stock take with my system and then use a Shopify Flow to integrate that data and the adjustments that we made over to an ERP. So your finance team can keep up to date with
yeah.
those changes
Awesome.
and things. So you get the benefits then of both. And I think that's what we're going to start seeing.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And no, I couldn't agree with that more. Do as much as you can in the platform and then solve the problems. And then go from there. You'll need to peg other things on top and probably have things
Hmm.
live outside. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And so,
Yeah,
and
it's
look,
such.
I'm gonna start to wind up in a second, and I've realised actually I could have probably gone for 2 hours. I feel today I forgot how much I love talking about this stuff, and a lot of the grey hairs in my beard come from some of the similar stories to what you're telling today, and having to solve them for people over the years. But yeah,
Hmm.
it is a really fun, interesting space. At least I believe so. But to wrap up, I'm gonna give you a chance or make you be a little bit self-indulgent for a second, because I know last year you won one of the Shopify Build Awards, and
Hmm.
I'm lucky enough to get people on here who've won those awards or been involved in those processes. It always sounds like it was a really fun experience to be part of it. So yeah, I'd love to just hear a little bit about what that was like for you.
Yeah, it's actually there now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I realized on the video watching it back, I had the most boring white wall background, so I was like, gotta get a bookshelf and put things on it now. Honestly, I've never focused on stairs more in my life. We were walking up on the stage, and the day before I tripped on the stairs in the Shopify office, and so going up on stage to get the award from Harley and Liam, I've never stared at stairs more in my life to make sure I didn't trip up on them. But it was amazing. It was a huge honor. Liam is great at surprising you. I did not expect it coming at all on the call, which was awesome. So yeah, it was an amazing experience, and it's really nice because I got a community award with Taylor for the work that we've done in like helping out. I love helping out on the forums. It helps me learn. I help other people. I've also run an event in Leeds to get Shopify partners together because there's a lot of great work going on in the north of the UK that doesn't get talked about enough. So that's kind of the work that I did, and it was really nice to see Shopify reward that, and like I acknowledge it as well, because there's so many people out there in the Shopify ecosystem doing amazing things, not just with their apps and their businesses, but also just for the wider community, both merchants and partners. And it's really nice to see that recognized.
Absolutely. And no, it was very, very well deserved. And yeah, like as I've
Thank you.
spoken to lots of other people doing this show, like your name's one that just keeps coming up as someone, yeah, you need to get Jordan on, you need to get Jordan on. And so very grateful to have you join, and yeah, give us your time today. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you over in Toronto this year. And yeah, you'll be a bit more relaxed, not having to focus on the stairs. So no, thank you so much for joining the Shopify app show. I hope I hope people have got a lot out of this and learnt some of the ways to get better at solving that back of house stuff, which is so important and helps people to save money to make money. So no, thanks so much, and we'll be back with another episode soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.